Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We were getting into topic of importance of salah and status and kinds of purification. Now let's get a little bit more detail on what are some of the impurities. Before you can say that I'm purified, you need to know what is considered impure, what is considered dirty, and also what do you need to do to purify yourself. So, we already got into the topic of, okay, so there's there's two kinds of purification, right? So one of them is, so let's see, and we said those two kinds of purifications are internal and external. This is of course not about internal. We talked about briefly what internal means, but when it comes to external, there's two things. One is your clothes, your body, etc. And then you have, what I would say is ritual. Okay, but even in ritual cleansing of external, right? You also have minor impurity and major impurity. Major impurity. And what do I mean by that? So basically, when you say, okay, I'm about to do this ritual purification, I'm going to use water and to do some steps. Remember, I discussed that there will be some steps that you have to do. If you're in the state of minor impurity, then you have and that's basically what you have to do is wudu, which I said is called ablution in English. But that's the terminology that is used. And then if you are in the state of major impurity, then you're going to do this act called ghusl. And of course, more detail on that later. But let's talk, of course, what do you have to do to purify yourself? And ghusl, which is basically another words of saying bath. But of course, you do your normal bath, but there's some minor steps that you have to do in order to purify yourself from major impurity in Islam. Okay, so we covered that. Now let's talk about what purifies. So these are basically the kind of impurities: minor impurity and major impurity, right? And now when it comes to minor impurity, it is, and of course we'll get more into detail, but it's things like you going to the bathroom, right? Urinating, right? Defecating, number one. Number two, okay, passing gas. And then you have, let's say, deep sleep, okay? So we'll get more detail in that. And when it comes to major impurities, it's things like, let's say you had sexual intercourse, okay? Or for a woman, she just finished her menses, right? Her cycle, menses cycle, right? She was menstruating, and then now the period is done. She has to do a ritual bath in order to get out of the major impurity. So now that we have that covered, that there are two types of impurities. A person can be in the state of minor impurity or major impurity, and there's some steps that we have to do, which we'll cover later when we're talking about ghusl, which is bath, and also when we're getting into the topic of wudu, which is ablution, kind of basically another fancy word of saying washing yourself up. So it's a lesser bath. It's not a total bath. It's just washing yourself, but there's some steps that we have to cover. But now, what purifies? What purifies? To sum it up, pure water. And by the way, everything that I'm saying in this course or anything else on Muslim How, there's a backup. Okay, either I have an ayah or a verse of Quran or saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Right. So if anybody is looking for references, maybe we'll add them up later on the website. But if you really say, hey, you know what, this kind of seems a little odd, I haven't heard of this before, please give me some proof, right? And I will be happy to send you the proof. But for now, just take my word and And again, if this is if you're a non-Muslim, something that you should know about Islam is that anything that we do in order to worship Allah or get closer to Him, it is backed up by a proof, not just by our own. Just because a scholar or the leader of the mosque said so. There has to be a backup, and the backup can be only from the sources of knowledge, and which is strictly Quran, which is the word of Allah, and Hadith, which is the saying of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him. So, pure water. Now, when I say pure water, there's some things that you gotta know. Okay, so it has to be in its natural state. Right? Which means, the smell, taste. You have, the color. So you can say the coffee is like 99% water, but it's still not considered water, right? Juices, like those 0-calorie juices that we have in these days, right? The Gatorades or whatnot, right? That's a lot of water in them, right? And probably 99%, probably more than that, but they're not considered water. Smell has changed, taste has changed, color has changed. So I'm talking water in its natural state, right? This is the water that you can get from wells, springs, right? Valleys, rivers, even melted snow, right? Because in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, He sent down pure water from the sky, right? So the rainwater is clean. And of course, if it's frozen, that's ice, and you melt the ice or melt the snow, that's clean water, ocean water, etc. Right? So this is the water that you can use to clean yourself. Tap water, of course, if this it's been cleaned. These are all the sources of water, and you want to make sure that you're using clean water to clean yourself. The other substance that you can use to clean yourself is pure earth. If water is not available, it's okay for you to use pure earth. Now, when I say pure earth, I'm talking about dust, right? Sand, stone, right? And remember, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessing be upon him, said that the earth has been made for me as a place of prayer, and it's a purifier. So it is okay, but again, look for water. If you can't find water, use pure earth. Now, this can be used as a purifier, earth, if there's lack of water, right? If there's lack of water, let's see, lack of water, and what else? When it is, when you're unable to use it, What does that mean? Let's say you're in the middle of a war, or maybe a refugee camp or so, and the water is very limited, and you need that water for cooking and living. You don't have to use that water in order to clean yourself up or take a bath. You can stay without a bath, because it's more important for you to survive and drink this water rather than cleaning yourself up. So you can, but then again, you have to do, and more on that later. How do you clean yourself? How do you do this ritual cleansing? And consider that, okay, let's say you were in the state of major impurity, you don't find water. What do? We'll cover that. How do you use pure earth in order to clean yourself up? But again, if there's lack of water and you're unable to use it, maybe it's too cold outside and you're camping, if you're going to use water, you're going to get sick, then you can use pure earth in order to clean yourself up. So that's basically the two sources that you can use in order to clean yourself up. And so let's say what else we can. Now, it's what are the things that are considered impure, right? So if you're in the state of, we said that if you urinate or defecate, that will take you out, basically poop or pee, or number one or number two, whatever you want to call it. It will take you out of the. You're in the state of minor impurity now, right? We all go to the bathroom. It's our daily exercise. We have to use the bathroom sometimes 3-4 times a day. After you're done, it is important that we clean our private parts with water. Right? keep a water bottle with you, and I'll give you some tips later on. But basically, we know that it's not part of our culture to be cleaning ourselves with water, but take a water bottle with you and use it. Right? We'll again cover more on when we get into the topic of wudu or ghusl. But clean your private parts with water. Okay, and the same thing with urine or feces. Right, you'll be using water to clean it up. Just dump some, like let's say your child ends up urinating in the on the floor. What you can do is just take a bucket and of water and pour on top of it, and then of course dry it up. Again, some of the manners is don't. These are all bathroom manners. Let's call this bathroom manners. It's all part of our purification. So don't clean with right hand. Use left hand. Left hand should be dedicated for you to be cleaning your private parts, right, front or back, but don't clean with right hand. Okay. Now, if what else can break your wudu if let's say you're about to pray and you have severe pressure. Oh man, I gotta go. Right, go. Right, don't wait. If you gotta go, go. Don't. If you got severe pressure of, a nicer way of saying is call of nature. Right, if you gotta go pee or poop, number one, number two, call of nature. You gotta go first. Then clean yourself up with water, and then do your acts of the ritual washing that we talked about in order to purify yourself. Because if you go to the bathroom, you're in the state of minor impurity, and then you have to clean yourself up, and now you can pray. But your prayer is not going to get accepted if you had a severe pressure of call of nature. You got to go, then you should go first. Now, another thing that, again, this is all part of our culture now. We're for men, we're using urinals, right? And when you use urinals, splashes of urine end up coming on your clothes. And there's a very severe punishment in grave. More on that when we talk about afterlife. But Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, told us that there are people who are being punished in their grave for not something major. It's not like they committed adultery or fornication. It's just that they were not careful with urine splashing on their clothes. And that's something that you must do. Wash your hands right after that. Go to the bathroom, clean yourself up. Make sure that you're making sure that your clothes are not being splashed by urine. So you gotta make sure. And of course, your private parts, you have to make sure you clean them. Don't clean with your right hand. Clean with your left hand. And these are some of the manners that you should remember when you are talking about purification in Islam. And something else is, of course, your period, let's say, is done, and the blood of menses. The blood of menses. Right, while you're on your period, of course, blood is on your clothes. That blood, of course, again, we're going into detail because maybe there's some of you who would be a little bit maybe not careful and maybe not washing your clothes. And the key is you should, the way Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, instructed us is that you rub it off with fingers, whatever that dried blood that you got on your clothes, and put it in water and rub it to remove the traces of blood. Wash it. And then, of course, the easy way is just throw it in the laundry. But this is something that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, instructed us. So basically, you cannot pray in the blood of menses, right? If there's blood on you from menses, then you got to make sure that you clean it up. Also, some of you who are accepting Islam, it's part of our culture to have dogs. Know that if dogs' saliva, right, ends up being on your plates or anything, you have to wash it 7 times, and then 1 time with sand, so with water, of course, but 1 time with sand or even soap. Okay, so first soap it, so wash it with soap, right, and then wash it 7 times with water. That's something that if a dog ends up licking your clothes or licking your plates or spoons or utensils in the house, then you got to make sure that you wash it. Cat is okay. Cat is okay. Right, and again, this is all backed up by the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. One other thing that you should know is that now we're talking about urinating and defecating, and of course we know that these are impure. We talk about blood of menses, that's impure. Dogs, saliva is impure. So these are some of the substances that we are of course dealing with on a daily basis. So we want to make sure that we clean ourselves up. And how do we do that? Use water. Right, use water and make sure that we're careful with splashes of urine. Don't stop using urinals and start using toilets and take a water bottle with you and clean yourself up with water. Some of the instruction that we have from Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. Now, one of the things that you should know is for the mothers who have babies, right? So if a baby boy, when I say basically infant boy, who is still suckling and no solid food, he hasn't started eating solids yet. If he ends up urinating on your clothes, right, then all you have to do is just sprinkle some water. Okay, sprinkle some water over sprinkle water in order to clean yourself. But if it's a baby, and if it's a baby boy, but he started eating solid, then you have to treat that urine, just like how you would treat another urine. But if it's a baby girl, doesn't matter. So, solids, no solid, again, you treat it just like a normal urine or feces. So basically, just an exception is that if a baby boy, he's suckling and that he hasn't started eating solid food, then it's okay if he ends up peeing on your it's basically water, and all you got to do is just sprinkle some water over it and you should be purified. So these are some of the substances that we consider impure in Islam. And how do we clean it? We talked about that. We also said that it's okay to, if the water is not available, then you can use pure earth. And how do we use that? We'll get into that later. And for that, this is it for our lesson on the kinds of impurities and what is something that purifies. And our next lesson, we'll get into the topic of ghusl, which is a full bath, which takes you out of the major impurity in Islam.